Semi-finals day. Patrick Rafter from Australia against Stefan Edberg, the number 2 seed. The first time semi-final we have for you. That's the match which we'll be showing tonight. Fortunately, not enough time to show you the other semi, which is between the number 1 seed Andre Agassi and Todd Martin. We're showing the final on Monday. Agassi and coach Brad Gilbert making their preparations, and as ever he's the focal point for much of this week. But Stefan Edberg absolutely delighted to be in the semi-final here. A lot of people writing his obituary from tennis after his early exit from Wimbledon, but he's come back well here, where he is of course the champion. Wins over Michael Tebbett of Australia in the opening round, Paul Lucchesa of Kenya, and then Cristiano Carati of Italy in the quarters. 8 successive matches here. There's the head-to-head. Edberg leads 2-0. More about that later. So Rafter to serve his first semi-final of 1995. So much of Rafter's game depends on his serve, one of the finest serve volleys. New coach this year, Tony Roach, used to be with Bob Carmichael. Took him into the top 20 in the world at this stage last year. But Rafter's been in the doldrums for much of 95, and his ranking has dropped down to 64. Very nearly went out against Don Johnson of the USA, a set and a breakdown, but since then it's been plain sailing. Edberg won 8 successive matches here in Washington, and that set he dropped against Carati, his first for 2 years. Very accomplished finish. Rafter takes the opening game. Welcome back. Stefan Edberg, love 1 in this first semi-final here in Washington. Rafter started the year with such high hopes.
Well, Stefan's he's a very good serve volleyer, and you know I have to return well and take my chances and just sort of coast through my games if I can.
been one of the main problems for Stefan, has been that forehand, and Rafter's going to make him play as many as he possibly can. Stefan ranked 16. First time for 11 years he's been out of the world's top 10. There's that back foot, which so often crosses the line, and he's the most foot-faulted player in the top flight. He's pretty phlegmatic when he gets called for it. He knows it's going to come a few times. Yes, involuntarily put his racket there, Stefan. It might have been going out. And Rafter a little lucky to get away with this. A little slow here with this volley. Slow to read it. And that may well have been going out, but Stefan in two minds, and the last one was the wrong one. Been suffering from a sore shoulder through this week. Says he's serving at around 80% of his usual power, which in itself is less than it used to be, but good enough there. It was well played. After looking a little vulnerable there at the net, beautiful passing shot.
I feel like I'm playing with a little bit less pressure now. I try not to put too much pressure on myself, and I try to play some good tennis out there, and because I'm still pretty fit, and that's not the problem. I just need to knuckle down and concentrate on what I'm doing, and try to get back performing again.
So I think the question is the desire still burning? Every one of the top players has a different way of showing desire, but there's no doubt that Stefan had it. Does he still have it? When he won the US Open in 1992, I remember 3 times he came back from being a set down in the final set and won matches. So he really did compete. But is he now at the same level? Rafter very quick forwards, but not so quick laterally. There's his run through at the beginning of the year. So 2-1 Rafter. Stefan Edberg 1-2 in this first semi-final here in Washington. Those that have their doubts about Rafter mainly focus on his return of serve. Doesn't get many winning returns in. Few facts and figures of the venue here. And this building up to be a totally absorbing semi-final between two players for whom getting to the final here would mean an awful lot. Stefan, a winner in his first tournament of the year in Doha, but since nothing much. Yes, pretty humid. Not too sunny, but they'll know they've been in a match, these two. First double. Rafter won't mind forfeiting too many of those as long as he can keep Stefan away from some of those rapier returns. Yeah, that was a poor shot. And now he's in trouble. 3 break points. Oh, a scorcher. So Edberg has the break and he leads 3 games to 2. Stefan Edberg 3-2 up with a break against Patrick Rafter, the number 2 seed, against the wild card Rafter, who's seeded 13 here. The local commentary team. Again, not the greatest return in the second shot. Not good enough, but for once he gets it. It's the second weakness sometimes on return for Rafter, is that when he does get a decent return in, sometimes he can't finish off with that second shot. But that was a cracker. Both their meetings have been on clay this year in Munich. And of the last 32, Edberg won in straight sets, 7-6, 6-3. In the World Team Cup, a closer affair, 6-4, 6-7, 6-2. And Edberg gets out on trouble with his first ace. And against a weak returner like Rafter, his serve is looking pretty good here. Yes, Stefan in the top 10 for 10 successive years. Only Lendl, McEnroe and Connors have done 10 or more overall in the modern era. Ranked outside the 10 now for the first time since 1984. But a bit tired of people asking him when he's going to finish. Just a wonderful return. He's got to keep away from that backhand.
Go away.
They still know that when I'm playing well, I'm still hard to beat, and you know, things can turn around. You look at Agassi last year; he was number 23rd in the world, and you know, a year later he's number 1. So lots of things can happen in tennis.
Stefan ever optimistic. Gives some confusing answers as to his future at the French Open, so he was taking it 1 year at a time. I'm going to play this year, he said. And then he added, I'm going to play next year as well. So now we know. In the air a long time. Teaser for Rafter, but he really should have made it. And again, having been broken, he's in trouble once more. 15-30. Second double, and here are 2 break points. To curve right onto the line. Bold stuff from Rafter. Deserved his success. Second break point. Well, he got away with one wayward backhand before, but not a second. Here's a third break point. His second ace saves the day. Oh yes, I thought he was going to put one of those in earlier on one of the break points, but he didn't. Kept on going to the backhand, and throwing that wide out to the forehander gives him a chance here to reduce the arrears. That's his third ace. Rafter's game. Edberg leads 4-3. Stefan Edberg, a break up against Patrick Rafter. It's 4-3. Well, normally it's the backhand volley that wins him so many cheap points. But here the forehand clicking into gear nicely. Not really getting anything going on return at all. And the set seems to be receding very fast indeed. Rafter serving to stay in it now. Plays with so much more authority behind his serve. Good deep volley and a incisive put away. Three doubles. Good play. So Edberg is going to have to serve out for the set. So here's Edberg, who's held his serve effortlessly, really, in this first set. 5-4. But how often it's that much more difficult when it means that much more. And it's hardly coincidence that Rafter gets in just about his best return of the set. Rafter not sure it was a fault. He fancied the return. But he's got to string 2 or 3 of them together in this game, Rafter. Edberg still amazingly quick up to that service line. Second double. So suddenly he does get 2 good returns in. And here are 2 breakback points for Rafter. Well done. It didn't look likely, but he raised his game when it mattered. Edberg faltered, and 3 excellent returns have done the trick. And that will give him heart, because it never really looked likely. The longer this set carried on, it looked less and less likely. But he stayed with that and did well to get it right down to his feet. So we're back level. Oh. Wonder if he wishes now, Rafter, that he'd changed the angle on his volley. Yes. Easy to miss. Can get carried away. One of his best returns wide on the forehand. And watched it really carefully. Well done. That time Rafter. Twinkle toes. Did well to hit that volley in front of the service line. No, a little unlucky. impossible to react. But perhaps he did have a bit more time than I thought. Here's a break point for Edberg. Fourth double. Edberg's broken him again. 6-5. Stefan Edberg serving for the second time for this first set. But this time goes in front on his serve. 2 successive breaks of serve.
I can't hit my serve, so I sort of have to go more for placement, and you know, I'm not going to get as many free points off my serves. I have to work a lot more from the back of the court, and you know, it's a different thing for me, but it's been working quite well so far.
Sure has, winning a lot of first serve points, even at around 75–80% of full power. And now has 2 set points. And even then, plays it with absolute care and precision. So the first set to Stefan Edberg after just over half an hour. Good wrong footing volley. And Rafter turns away rather than see the damage he'd inflicted on himself. So 2 breaks to 1. Fifth double. Yes, you can see the frustration has built. Oh! Well, Stefan would have loved that. Real injection of power and placement there on the forehand. It's an elaborate drop, but he plays it with such precision that, although it doesn't have the disguise of others, its placement is perfect. should be making those. Indecision there. Here are 2 more break points. Oh, good running. It's a must-win point, this one, for Rafter. You felt he won a minor battle if he can hold on to his serve here. Otherwise it could be a slippery slope. He'd normally back Edberg to make a volley like that. For once, just a little slow, a little tentative coming in. So 2 break points saved. Oh. Best rally of the match. Every shot hit with meaning and venom. Loaded up here after an excellent low volley from Rafter. So break point. So 3 break points now saved. Yes, well done. Would have been easy to push that volley. This one coming up, but he hit it. So Rafter 1-love in this second set. Stefan Edberg, love 1 in the second set. He's a set up against Patrick Rafter of Australia. First semi-final here in Washington. Second semi All-American. Agassi against Martin. So Edberg just in front on the stats. And the unforced errors costly for Rafter. Around 3/4 full here at the William H. Fitzgerald Centre. It'll be totally full, of course, for the next match, which includes the world number 1. A few whistles. I think quite a few of the crowd thought that was long. Rafter certainly did. Not very stylish there, Patrick Rafter. Footwork really letting him down.
Well, thanks, Barry. We're here obviously with Andre Agassi, who we'll see tonight playing Todd Martin. You were out here early today, Andre, getting that practice session in.
Yeah, every day I come out in the middle of the day and get the practice and then warm up a little bit before the match. It's just kind of the routine I like to be on. It, you know, breaks up the day for me.
And how are you hitting them? What's going to be the key against Todd?
Well, Todd is definitely going to serve big and take big chance off the ground. So I got to make sure I'm returning well and dictating play off the ground and not letting him, you know, get his footing set, because anytime it's in his wheelhouse, he hits the ball pretty strong. So I got to keep him on his toes by taking the offense early in each point, and hopefully I'll be returning well enough to put a lot of pressure on him.
Andre talking to Linda Pence. Here's Rafter. 1-all. Love 15. And he's a set down. Does well there. Gets a reasonable amount of snap out of it. And the volley crisp enough to open him up. Yes. After looking a more intimidating figure on his serve now. Slowing it up a little, getting in, putting away the volley as well. And staying back there, surprising Edberg. After in better shape now. 2-1. Set down. You're watching the first semi-final of the ATP Tour event at Washington, D.C. Number 2 seed, Stefan Edberg against Aussie Patrick Rafter, seeded 13. Edberg virtually a lockout on his serve at the moment. And Rafter really, apart from that 10th game when he broke Edberg when he was serving for the first time for the set, just totally unable to put any pressure with his return. And Edberg's percentage on first serve creeping up all the time. Rafter thought it was wide. It was a rather delayed effort when he finally got there. So it's back at 2-all.
Thanks, Barry. Well, if you think Stefan Edberg was up late last night, what about Andre Agassi? He didn't take the court till after 11 o'clock. Very unusual for the #1 player in the world to play so late. A valiant effort for him to be out here practicing today already this early in tremendous heat. Earlier on, he was working on his return of serve. Not surprising. His opponent is Todd Martin. And I have a guest right here, Brad Gillett, BG. What's your call? How's Andre playing?
He's a tall guy, man, isn't he?
Who, Martin?
Oh, yeah, maybe we'll have a little lightning, a little humidity, slow it down a little bit. Should be fun out there tonight.
And how'd you get Andre up so early today?
I don't know, man. He got here, I thought we were going to hit it too, and all of a sudden he was here like 12:40. He was ready to go.
So he called you to get out of bed?
Get out of bed and get over here, man. I was late today, man. I was slow starting out there on the practice course.
Well, it's a tough life here for a coach, Barry, but back up to you. Thanks.
The 5th game of this second set. Oh, yes. Edberg ever wary of that serve wide to his forehand. Clever play there from Rafter, taking the pace off and getting it ever wider. Edberg a little disappointed with his returning there. 3-2. Edberg, second set. First set to the number 2 seed here. 7 games to 5. Now what can Rafter do here? At last. So he breaks the run of love service games. He's taking you through the results right the way through the tournament. Now, all of a sudden, he gets one return in, and the same pattern has happened in the 10th game. That's what happens if Rafter can get something going on return. Bad mistake from Stefan there. And now it's all happening. Well, he was lucky, but deserved it. Took his chance. Decent return. Knew what he was doing. So here are 3 break points now for Rafter to go 4-2 up. He needs to be a bit more accurate with his returns. Just as accurate as his throwing. Here is an absolutely crucial point. 3rd break point. Not much he could have done with that. Edberg, yes, right. He has been going cross-court Rafter on the backhand, and Edberg was waiting for him. That was good serving and excellent play from Edberg in a crucial situation. Now, is that the last time that Rafter gets anything close on Edberg's serve? His first break points of the set, 3 of them, and now it's back to 3-all. the left. Edberg, you may have picked it up just in the intermission between the last 2 points, was having a go at himself or not making the return on the backhand, and suddenly he does. Picked it perfectly. And there's a second. Well played, Rafter. Finally he goes down the line, and there's just too much power in it for Stefan. The volley might have been wide, not called. Nornquist doesn't intervene. Must say I thought that was wide. If it was on the line, it was a heck of a shot. Couldn't really tell from that. No doubt about that, though. So it's 4-3 Rafter. Welcome back to Washington. Stefan Edberg about to serve, having saved 3 break points in his previous service game. It's 3-4. He's a set-up, remember, against Rafter. Rafter showing more and more composure now on the backhand volley. Ooh. Not sure Stefan realised it was going to be that close. Ooh. His third double. Was symptomatic of the problem he's been having with his forehand. A really awful shot there, under no pressure at all. And now he does have pressure. And he'll have hated that. 2 break points. insult to injury with that foot fault. And Rafter has been on to Edberg now for the last couple of service games. Misses another chance. He read the serve, he was up for it. Edberg again serving well, in trouble, but Rafter's now missed 5 break points in the last 2 service games. Yeah, great serving. And he'll be feeling terrific after that. Gutsy stuff from Stefan. A winner in Doha, semi-finalist in Scottsdale, and in Indian Wells, but after that a real dearth of success. Quarter-finalist in Munich. Quarter-finalist 2 in Rome. Much less tentative now, Rafter. Very aggressive the way he puts that high backhand volley away. Playing much better. Edberg, as you can see, much more dominant on serve, particularly on first serve. And now he can't miss Rafter with that backhand volley. Yeah, late call, but did look long. On Christ making the overall. Much better play from Rafter. He's moving his feet better, serving better, volleying of a totally different order now. So it's Edberg, when you come back, will be serving to stay in this second set. So Stefan Edberg now at 4-5, serving to stay in this second set.
Well, it's just a matter of time before I started to have the wins that I would have liked to have, and it hasn't happened in the last 6 months. And And I mean, I'm extremely happy with the way things are going. You know, I got a wild card here. I wasn't going to come to this tournament, and I was just so happy that I did come here.
I bet he is. First time he's reached a semi-final this year. And his ranking will improve from the 64 it slumped to. A real worry for a man who last year many were saying could be a top 10 player. Not been playing like a future top 10 player so far this year. Now he's had break points galore. 5 in the last 2 games on Stefan Edberg. Can he get there again and make it count this time? That's a little unlucky. Very well played, Edberg, stayed with it. Rafter deserved better. Just got himself a little caught up. A difficult hook shot. Thought that was going to be a winner, but Edberg moved excellently to it. And a vital miss. Well, this is really entertaining stuff. Couple of baseline rallies. Edberg hanging his head. It's very, very hot out there, and you can see he's gasping for air. Humidity very high. Rafter should have made it. It's Rafter who's making the moves forward. Edberg sticking to the baseline. Just too much power for Rafter's volley there. But pouring sweat. Good second serve. Edberg telling us earlier on how fit he feels he is. He's going to need that fitness out of here. It's a tough battle physically and beginning to be mentally as well. Simply news from the Northern Tournament in Didsbury. Christian Sacciano of Germany is through to the final. He'll meet Chris Wilkinson tomorrow. Chris Wilkinson, a winner over Mark Petchey. 2 tie-break sets for Wilkinson. Significant win. Luciano beating Arnie Toms. Edberg firing pretty well on his ground strokes at the moment. In no real hurry to get to the net. Thought he might be trying to chip and charge a little more. Ooh, I think that Rafter thought he'd made the wrong decision when he left it originally. So Rafter edges in front again. It's 6-5, second set. Stefan Edberg serving for the second time, 15-love, to stay in this second set. It's 5-6. He's a set up against Rafter. So he's getting the footfall to both ends. No chance. What this humidity does, of course, is make it that much more difficult to concentrate and react quickly. Sharpness goes at around this time, but even a Chang wouldn't have been able to get to that. Only his second ace, and the first for best part of an hour. Well, they're Rafter determined to make the return. Nothing too brilliant, but good enough. Calling for the towel again, I think, anxious to get as much time on his side as he possibly can. So this to take us into a tiebreak. He deserved that. Excellent footwork there from Rafter. He does look the sharper of the two at the moment. Good placement at the end of it. So here is set point now for the Australian. And he's got it. And this could be a very difficult third set now for Edberg. He does look to be towering. Mentally more than anything else. It's excruciatingly humid. Rafter, you can see also his mouth wide open, gulping in air, but Edberg does look fatigued. This will be a big match for him to win from here. Rafter looked to be outclassed in the first set, but he's turned it round well. His 7th double. Talked about the hunger and desire in Edberg earlier on. Has he still got it? This will be a very big test of it. That was a cracking return. So this would make him feel a lot better if he could break Rafter here. Oh, super rally. All credit to Edberg, who really did keep fighting there. But that must have taken even more out of him. He was all over the court here. Sensed this is the moment where he's got to try and make his move and break. But Rafter, rock solid both sides. A shot he would normally make 99 times out of 100, and that may be down to the oxygen factor or lack of it. Ooh. Calls for the towel again. Break point. This could well be a pivotal point in this match. No! Edberg gets the break he wants, and he's back in front. 1-love in this deciding set. Fascinating struggle. And a struggle it is too now for both men, even Rafter in prime condition. This is a real test. Edberg with a break. 1-love, third set. Thought it was long. Rafter played it. Starts through the second set. Edberg's percentage starting to fall, but significantly Rafter's unforced errors beginning to fall as well. Well, he's making much more out of that forehand than he normally does. It's been a real problem for him for much of this year. But the forehand down the line has been a consistent threat. It's Rafter exerting the pressure that we thought Edberg would throughout this match. It's he who's chipping and charging, and it's he who's at the net first more often. That's an excellent rally. Fabulous play from Rafter. Edberg made every shot difficult for him, even right to the very end. But in this intense heat, to keep that control when it must be hurting severely. Fabulous volley to finish too. Ooh, dicing with death. More results through this tournament. Agassi yet to drop a set. Jason Stoltenberg essentially, the beaten finalist last year. And that's a big game for Edberg. And his spirit is still high. And his commitment absolute to this match, despite the local conditions. So love to. Rafter can't feel out of it though. But the standard from both players has risen in this third set. And this is Edberg at his very best. It's a massive fight. But so far he's winning it. It's tough even to watch what it must be like for these guys. Just got the outside of the line. He really is playing glorious stuff at the moment, Edberg. You might feel at death's door, but it's perhaps making him relax a bit. Certainly unending supply of winners for him. Break point here for 3-love. A double break lead. He's getting a lot of this success at the back of the court. It's Rafter who feels obliged to get in at the earliest opportunity. Exquisite control from Rafter. Just can't quite finish this game off. That's when he's making the errors. With his advantage. Ball was good. Correction from Norm Creased. So the point replayed. It's deuce. Again, he looks down at the line, but it was comfortably in. So a second break point. Now, can he finish him off here? In these conditions, any net cord as lucky as that is going to reap its reward. So the 5th deuce of this game. Oh! Well, the backhand volley has got better and better throughout this match. A few people shaking their head, and no wonder. Edberg would have been proud of this. He really creamed it, but Rafter got accuracy and touch. Still he can't finish the game off. Rafter serve, taking a fair amount of punishment in this game. Here's a third break point now for Edberg. And it looks much needed. Excellent piece of retrieving. Needed one more shot. And again. Backhand from the back, working like a dream. And here's a fourth break point. Well, this is as good as Edberg has played for much of this year. Tremendous hitting. 3-love, 2 breaks. Stefan Edberg flying at the moment. 3-love, 2 breaks in the semi-final against Patrick Rafter from Australia. Edberg, who dropped the second set 7-5 and looked in dire straits physically, but he's held himself together and raised his game. Rafter must see that Edberg is really struggling, which must in a way increase his frustration that he can't get hold of him. Rafter's play, which started to get better and better through the second set, and even in the beginning of the third, even though Edberg was breaking him, is now beginning to fall away a bit. That was a really great block return. First sign of the tiredness beginning to get to Stefan since the very early stages of this set. Yes, very well played. Stefan, throughout his career, of course, has had to look to Tony Piccard to give him a little bit of a competitive boost. No longer with Tony. But this one is very impressive, this fight. So he's 4-love up now in this deciding set.
Well, thanks, Barry. Keeping a good eye on this match is Todd Martin, who has to play Andre Agassi tonight. And Todd, obviously hot weather now. You must be glad you're going to be playing in the cool of the evening.
Well, it's not that hot right now. It doesn't seem that it's really humid, and that condition's going to continue on through the evening, I'm sure.
Well, you're playing one of the best returners in the game. Obviously, you must be thinking about that and how you're going to serve to him tonight.
Well, I think obviously the way I serve is going to have a lot to do with how I do. But there's a lot of other ways that I can attack him, and I'm going to use all of them in order to beat him.
Well, you're having a really good week this week, obviously, a very good year as well. You must be thinking forward to the U.S. Open and getting your ranking up and grab one of those good seeding positions.
Well, that's in the back of my mind, but really I'd just like to get through this week in the positive way that I've done so far, and hopefully continue the way I've played this week throughout the rest of the summer.
Thanks very much for joining us. We'll be looking at you later. Back up to you, Barry.
Todd Martin, not one of the easiest interviews. Has his own way of answering questions. Here, Patrick Rafter, broken in his last 2 service games. Has a chance to get his side of the scoreboard moving in this 3rd set, and does so. But damage done already. Stefan leads 4-1 in this 3rd set. Stefan Edberg then 4-1 in this 3rd set. 1 set apiece against Patrick Rafter. Edberg, the number 2 seed. Rafter, the wild card, seeded 13. A match that's vital for both of them. Rafter's first semi-final of the year. Edberg bidding for only his 2nd final. One in Doha, nothing since. And his hitting from the back has been of a much higher standard than Rafter's. Well, Todd Martin, you could hear, said he didn't think it was particularly hot. I think he should be playing out there. 3rd ace. So Edberg now just 1 game away from the final. Welcome back to Washington. Patrick Rafter serving to stay in the match now. One 5, 3rd set. 8th double. Oh. Well, Rafter gave it absolutely everything. But once he was doing that, there was only really one place the ball was going over the net. And Edberg did really well to watch it and place it. Yes, the first volley deserved that. Still 2 points from defeat. A ninth double. And here's match point for Stefan Edberg. This for the final. Stefan thought it might have been wide, not called or overruled. Well played. But despite the obvious frustration he must feel, Rafter's kept his side of it going. Edberg, although looking to be suffering physically, has played this third set immaculately. And Rafter's still in there. But when you come back, Edberg will be serving for the match. Stefan Edberg serving for a place in the final. His second successive final. He was a champion last year. Rafter will probably feel if he can get one break here, really put the pressure on Edberg, who must be struggling physically. He certainly looks to be. He still has a chance. Ooh. Still dragging himself up there, even though it hurts. He looks really drawn. Oh, yes. He'd love to finish it right here. And now he does have the chance. One match point lost on Rafter serve, but here are two more. He hadn't had one for a couple of service games, so he was due one. It's a match point. That was tough. His fourth double. Here's a third match point. Well, is it coincidence? Fatigue? A little bit of nerve creeping in. Two double faults in a row on match point. Rafter's still in this. If he can get a break here, he could turn it around. Good shooting. Extraordinary retrieve on the first backhand volley. Now then, Rafter with break point. And he hardly got the energy to ask for the towel. And the backhand volley, which has been so reliable, helps him in that moment of danger. Clever serve. Took the pace right off. And here's a fourth match point. Yes, it's okay. Admirable guts here from Rafter. Gets lucky, but he's making most of the moves. Yeah, wonderful forehand approach. And he desperately needs to finish this right here. A fifth match point. Edberg looks virtually out on his feet. Well played, Rafter. Well, that was like a body blow to the Swede. Another excellent approach, this time on the backhand. And here's a sixth match point. Finally, he does it. And he's not kidding. So Edberg through to the final. We'll be showing you that on Monday, recording it for you tomorrow, showing you Monday at 1400, 1300 UK. Stefan Edberg against either Andre Agassi or Todd Martin. Next, all the day's main news from the British Grand Prix. See you Monday.